Hello and welcome to this fourth episode in the second series of Icon Minds. I'm Priya Kanchandani, the editor of Icon magazine. I'm really pleased to be here today on a sunny winter's day at the Arper showroom in Clerkenwell, and I'll be talking to Marjan van Aubel, the solar designer, about her life in design. So Marjan, since we're talking to you about your life in design today, would you be able to start by telling me about an object or an artwork or something that you think has really influenced you or been fundamental to the career that you've built?
I like this question. I have something in mind. It's not like an object I've seen myself, but I've seen it on a cover of a record player, and it was called a palm umbrella, and it's basically an umbrella but made with palm trees. And it was such an iconic image that set like a tone to my work, I think.
It's an umbrella with palm trees.
It's called a palm umbrella. It's like I googled it, and it's a thing apparently.
And why did it resonate with you?
I don't know. It's just like something like so simple, it's like you take from nature but you apply it to something with a bit of technology, and then it becomes super aesthetic, beautiful, and an icon.
Yeah, exactly, like solar panels in a sense. So how did you get into this world of solar design, and coming from a design background, how did you bridge this gap with sort of engineering and science?
Well, it started with just like looking around and looking how solar panels are used now. So we think still about this blue panel on roofs, and we really see it as a technology, nothing else than just a technology. But if you look also at the technologies that are being developed, they can be super beautiful. So there's this gap between like the integration and how we would like to we could live with solar panels, and how we perceive it now. It's something we need, is good for the environment, but we don't really want them on our houses.
What has really defined your work is the ability to design solar panels that are sort of seamlessly integrated into the world, not like the ones the more hideous ones you just mentioned. Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about the projects that you've done that have tried to do this, try to integrate solar design into the environment?
Yeah, so a good example maybe was when we replaced like all windows in Greek Street with current windows, and which are solar paneled stained glass windows. So you use colored windows that are harvesting electricity from the light, and people from the street could come and charge their phone from it.
No way, that's incredible. So essentially it's a window, but instead of window panes you use solar panels. Yeah. Is this something that could be rolled out? Is this something that could be used anywhere potentially?
Yeah, we're like working on this, and it's also a nice way of like looking where the windows can be. It's also like protect you a bit from the sun, but at the same time you use the sunlight to create energy from it. That's incredible. Like how stained glass windows been used in the past as well.
I mean, another project that you did recently was embedding a solar panel into a tabletop to allow you again to use it to charge something. Yeah. Can you tell me a bit about that project?
Yeah, so that's the whole tabletop were made out of colored solar panels, the same as the windows, and they are so sensitive to light that they also work indoors. So it means I was thinking like, well, then basically all these objects which actually we see here could be like harvesting electricity, energy from the light that we get on this nice sunny morning here.
So are you saying that there's actually enough light even indoors to be able to create a source of energy?
Yeah. And it's not like a lot, not that you can power your whole house from this table, but if you imagine like, okay, this is one surface, but this outside facade, the windows, the roofs, the streets, everything, our clothing, if that could be harvesting energy, then it's a different scale.
I mean, I know one area that you're kind of really making ground in is integrating solar panels into architecture. How do you think we can better use the built environment as a source of energy?
I mean, there's so much surface, and the more surface you have, the more energy you can harvest. So it also has like outside daylight, which is more efficient than indoor, of course.
So can you tell us a bit about like the architecture projects that you're working on in this area? Because I know that you're doing some really pioneering work in integrating this in quite a large scale.
Yeah, so now we're working on a proposal for the Dutch Ministry of Finance in The Hague, where it's like a massive like glass palace, and we're thinking like how can we embed solar technology in there, and like look at the aesthetics for the building, and also make this like a sort of a facade that's like breathing and like getting energy from light in a beautiful way, of course.
So what is stopping us now? Like clearly there's the potential, there's the technology. What is stopping us from really making the most of, like you said, the existing built environment and enabling us to use energy more sustainably?
I think there are a couple of factors, but one is I think the existing industry, because oil and gas is still being produced now and it works and they still get a profit, so it's like hard to replace those. But it is changing, of course, obviously, and like you said, solar and wind is a growing industry, but it's taking very long. Yeah, so that's one. The other one I would say is storage, because now batteries are expensive and they're made of not so good materials, and there's not the solution yet, but of course there's like a lot of other solutions, for example energy storage in algae, for example, so there's a lot of room for development there.
One subject that I'm quite interested in the moment is the future of the countryside, and clearly the potential to use solar panels outside of the city is enormous, but there are also skeptics who are concerned that solar panels could ruin the landscape, etc. What's your position on this?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I mean, if you look at solar parks now, it's like you're wasting a lot of like land, and for example in the Netherlands where I'm from, it's like there's not so much space there. But at the same time, if we look at, for example, windmills, there's like an icon of our heritage, I guess. I wonder what people in that time would have thought about windmills, you know? And now, because the same with solar farms, also with wind farms, a lot of people are opposed to that idea of having all these towers in their landscape. But maybe we should like redesign it and think of like, how do we want to see solar panels in the future? Can we make it into a monument? Can it be something we're proud of, instead of like this technology that is ruining our landscape?
So instead of using solar panels in the countryside, which is kind of where the emphasis is at present, if I'm not wrong, how do you think we should be using them? Is it in cities?
One is in cities, but there is never enough surface in cities to like cover everything, so it needs to come from outside as well. So for an example would be to have these on the water, for example, to have floating things, so it also makes more sense because then the temperature is regulated better. That could be a solution, and yeah, but also done in a nice way in nature.
Your work's really trying to push the boundaries of solar design. Is there a particular product or a particular thing that you're working on that you think could really push the boundaries in this area?
I'm working on different scales at the moment. So for example, the ministry is a very big one, but also a very small one. But I really would like that we really see solar technology differently, and like make it, for example, portable, make it smaller, make it bigger, make it transparent, and really push those kind of things. So working something on a small scale, but also on a big scale.
I mean, one context in which you're experimenting is in exhibition contexts, like at biennales and these sorts of forums. And one of the projects that you did was using crystal to kind of amplify the power of sun.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about this more experimental area of your work?
Yeah, that was using the material of Swarovski. It was a collaboration with Swarovski where used the crystals to focus the light onto solar panels, making them more efficient as well. So there's like really the collaboration, okay, well, how can we optimize both things and to create something better even, and like seeing solar panels something efficient but also aesthetically.
One of the solutions you're proposing to renewable energy is using solar power better in the built environment. How do you think we can convince the architecture sector to factor this in at a kind of a planning stage, so that we really make the most of this medium and it's not like an add-on at the end, yeah, like sticking some solar panels on the roof? Yeah,
because I think what you just said is the problem. It's like the ingredient that it comes on like the last. Oh, we need some solar panels, let's put those on the roof. But if you include them earlier on in the design, that will make a massive difference.
So is there like a lobbying piece to be done here?
Yeah, and also like working together with engineers and like in the earlier process, in the planning already, like, okay, this whole facade can be. There are some examples, for example, in Copenhagen.
Oh yeah.
That there's the international school where the whole facade is made out of this like fish scale, facade. It's beautiful.
So when you were starting out in this area of work, where was this sector at, and how did you try to kind of reinvent it?
Yeah, I don't think the sector wasn't really there yet. It's still not really there. I mean, at that time even more, there were like we saw only the black or the blue panels, but now like I said, there's like solar panels in glass, transparent. They're big and small, so there's much more choice, and I was talking to a fashion designer earlier, and we were thinking like, let's do a collaboration to make a whole collection with fashion, that's solar cells.
That's such an incredible idea. So there's like a kind of very interdisciplinary approach to your work.
Yeah.
Do you think that was influenced by your training? Because I know you trained initially as a product designer at the RCA.
It's so much fun to like learn from other people and like learn from disciplines and stuff, and then you can create much more exciting and bigger things. And
I wanted to ask you a couple more general questions about this area of design more broadly. I mean, are there any incentives out there to encourage people to use solar energy? Because clearly we're in a huge sustainability drive as a society at the moment.
Yeah, so it's like my drive is that because I'm a designer to like really see like how can we look different, can we make it more aesthetics, but it's like it needs to be like come from different industry, like the government should have like better regulation, for example, that is it becomes more accessible for people, especially in cities or outside, that it's more accessible to get access to solar panels. If you don't own your house, how are you going to put a solar panel on your roof or embed that? There are schemes, for example, you can rent solar panels and have them placed on another place, for example.
And clearly there's a lot of untapped potential. How do you see your role as a designer kind of evolving? Because this is a very fast changing area of work.
Maybe just to like highlight those potential and like explore those potential and see like how we can see that differently.
Are there any projects you're working on at the moment that you're able to tell us about?
So I'm working on a series of portable solar products. So for example, a light, or you can just hang in the window and it will charge during the day, and in the evening you get the light back from the window basically. And it's being programmed super nice that it's like very natural.
Well, thank you so much, Marjan, for joining us. And thank you for being here for this fourth episode in the second series of Icon Minds in partnership with Arper. I hope you'll join us next time.